Right. So what's the first topic? Or where we? Yeah.
Don't worry.
All right. All right. Okay. What do we got here? Someone decided to.
You're on. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Recovery Connection. So glad you could join us tonight. Everybody say hello to John D. Hi, John.
Hi, Kevin. Hi, everybody.
Let me do a few announcements, okay? And then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of everything.
Sounds
welcome
good.
to the Recovery Connection, a podcast focused on plugging in Ottawa's recovery community. Our mission is to connect and educate organizations, people in recovery, like me, like John, and viewers to the vast resources that have gone under the radar in community building and social services in this wonderful city that we like to call home, that we like to call Ottawa, and start breaking some of the stigma and foster a sense of belonging for all people in recovery. If you're looking at me now, you're on Facebook, so I'm glad you could join us on Facebook, and we're also on YouTube live on the second and fourth Thursday of every month, where I will be chatting with friends in recovery and community organizations on topics that are important to us and our local community. So I'm glad you could be here. If you're joining us live, please send in your questions for a live question and answer after our conversation. There's a surprise for you, right? The Recovery Connection is available on all major streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple, and Google 1 week after each live episode. That gives John time to edit out all our hums and haws and make us sound like we actually know what we're doing. Follow, like, and share our social media accounts and stay up to date on upcoming conversations. Guests, I usually give a little highlight or a little peekaboo as to who's coming up at the end of the show for the next episode. And visit us at our website at jerichoroad.ca to learn more and keep up to date on what's going on at Jericho Road. And also to any of the services that you might need. We try to offer our community a lot here at Jericho Road. So check out our website, www.jerichoroad.ca, and you can get all the information that you're looking for there. So we've been away from the podcast for a couple of weeks. Why?
Because of COVID.
Yeah,
it's
we
been
had
a blast.
we had the vid run its way through Jericho Road and run its way through the staff. John and I were the last ones, the last holdouts. No, sorry, Matt and Sean were the last holdouts. Anyways, it's worked its way through Jericho Road, so we had to postpone a couple of podcasts, and then we were supposed to be talking with Lisa Fabian from the Bethel Care Center, and she wasn't feeling well, and so we had to jumble around everything. But we're back on track because we like to do our Voices in Recovery podcast at the end of the month, and here we are. So I'm glad you could be here, brother.
Yeah. I've always wanted to be on the show ever since you told me about it a month ago.
So one of the things that I was thinking about the other day, I was talking to a friend of mine. We were looking at the 20 questions of AA. Did you ever do them?
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure I aced that one.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask you what qualifies you to be here, and I thought, well, this would be a great measure for to qualify. I'll do them with you. You ready?
Oh, perfect.
Did you lose time from work due to drinking?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's...
Yeah, I remember I was working at a warehouse, a mail distribution center, and you earned your sick days. You know, the more you worked, the more sick days you got, and on and on and on. And I was always in a deficit till finally one day my boss came up and said, you know, you can't be sick for the next year, otherwise you're fired. Yeah. So I'm a yes to that. Is drinking making your home life unhappy?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah. I can attest to that. Unhappy is a real broad... Right, but yeah.
Yeah, like strained and like damn near broken relationships to the max. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you drink because you were shy with other people?
Yes.
Yeah, so I could take a no with that.
No, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not too shy.
Well, actually, that's actually, I can actually take that one
Yeah.
back too, because I'm pretty outgoing,
Yeah.
easygoing.
Yeah, it's not. It wouldn't be hard for you to ask someone on the street for directions.
No,
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 exactly.
not
Yeah.
at all. No.
Is drinking affecting your reputation?
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
I always said you'd have to have one to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A good reputation, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like back in my hometown, I'm sure people would see me and cross the street to avoid me. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ran into an old friend of mine the other day. She tracked me down through LinkedIn. I hadn't seen her in about, I would say probably 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and she was commenting to me how different I sounded and everything that's changed in my life. So I guess that the reputation that she had in her head of, yeah. Anyways,
It's
okay.
stuck with her.
Stuck
yeah.
with her. Have you ever felt remorse after drinking?
Yes.
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 That's an easy one,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
What did I do? If I remembered what I did.
Yeah. If I wasn't told.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dreaded recap the next morning.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know what you did?
Yeah. It was like, no. Yeah.
Have you ever gotten into financial difficulties as a result of drinking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I always said you'd have to have money to be in financial difficulty. I never had any money.
Yeah. Somehow I managed to find enough to get drugs or
exactly,
alcohol.
Right? Yeah. There's the difficulty.
It's like, wait a minute.
Do you turn to lower companions and an inferior environment when drinking?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there are times when I've been homeless, and like, those are the times. Some of those times, it's like that's where I felt like I belonged. You know? Like, because homeless people will look out for each other. Like, it's not in dog eat dog world like everyone thinks it is.
Yeah. I think of inferior environment when I would be couch surfing because I was homeless and think that everything was great.
Right.
Yeah. And then wake up and realize where I am going, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Does your drinking make you careless of your family's welfare?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, at the same time, it's like, it makes me careless about like my family's welfare because of what I did while drinking.
Yeah.
Like after the fact.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I always looked at that too as because I was so concerned with my own needs.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I always remember having this conversation with my sponsor, and I when I first started working with him, and we were going through the 12-step process, and we were talking about how it works, and talking about the selfishness and self-seeking and self-centeredness that we are to the extreme in a lot of cases, right? And he called. We were talking, and he said, you're a very selfish person. And I wanted to punch him in the nose,
How dare you?
And I'm like, how you don't even know me, We've been doing the steps and working together for about 3 months. You don't even know me. How can you say I give my friends the shirt off my back, right?
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he said, "Have you ever bought booze with your son's diaper money?"
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? You're gonna go there?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Does your drinking make you careless? Have your ambitions decreased since you began drinking?
Have my what, sorry?
Ambitions.
Oh, I'd never had any ambitions to begin with. Yeah. Well, I had extreme, like, poor self-esteem growing up. Like, I thought very little of myself, and I didn't think I'd make it this far, really. Yeah. But still happy to be here.
Yeah. Do you crave a drink at a definite time daily?
Like, it didn't, like, near the end, it didn't matter what time of day it was. Like, it's the time is now? Okay, yeah. That sounds like a good time to drink.
I always used to say when I wake up.
Yeah.
Do you want to drink the next morning?
Yes.
At the end?
Oh, like, what do you mean?
Like when you were in active alcoholism, did you want to drink the next morning?
Oh, no. If anything, I couldn't even look at the empties because of how much I would consume the night before. It's like I could get that away from me, like the stink, and
Does drinking cause you to have difficulty sleeping?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've always had issues falling asleep.
Yeah.
But like no issues staying asleep.
Yes.
And when you're passed out drunk, it's pretty easy to fall asleep. You know, when you're that drunk. Yeah.
I always said I didn't fall asleep. I passed out.
Yeah.
So I had no difficulty.
Yeah.
Has your efficiency decreased since drinking?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
The 24-hour sleep, right?
Yeah.
You're so hung. Is drinking jeopardizing your job or business? Well, that's a simple one.
Yep.
Do you drink to escape from worries or troubles?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was my best friend. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm.
I think that's why we drink.
Yeah. Because we're so alone.
Yeah. Do you drink alone?
Yes.
Silly question, eh?
Of course, yeah. Me and all my friends.
Yeah. Me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
I'm not alone. Have you ever had a complete loss of memory as a result of drinking?
I did what again?
Yeah. Who are you? Roll over in the middle of the night. Who are you?
Yeah. Well, the drunk tank in Yellowknife was my home away from home. Like I don't know how many times I spent the night there. Like really.
Has your physician ever treated you for drinking?
No, but I did have issues as a result of drinking.
Yeah.
Like I had
I was going to say you're too young. The cirrhosis.
Yeah.
You're one of the lucky ones.
Right.
You got it just before all that stuff happens.
Yeah. Well, I did manage to get a gastritis though, which was a doozy. That's still like I think it's still my most painful experience because it's like a constant.
Tell our viewers what gastritis is.
Gastritis is when you have an opened wound on your stomach lining.
Yes.
And the pain is a very sharp, consistent pain that no matter what you do there's nothing you can do to comfort yourself. And it's just constantly there. And it is rough. Yeah, not a good time. I don't recommend it.
No. Did you drink to build up your self-confidence?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been to a hospital or an institution on account of drinking?
Yes, on more than a couple of occasions.
So I think you and I can sum up that we both qualify to be here.
Right on. Cool.
That's over with.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What got you here? And how long have you been in Ottawa?
Okay, well, I'm originally from Yellowknife, Northwest Territories.
That's a long way away.
Yeah, it's takes a day worth of flying to get here. So the main reason I came to Ottawa was because in late 2020, my brother had passed away. And I came down here initially for the funeral and just for a couple of weeks. And
that's not that long ago.
No.
Was it an older brother, younger brother?
Older brother. Yeah. And he was only 32 at the time. Yeah. I
didn't know that, John. I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He had pre-existing heart conditions, and also was he had heavy drug use as well as drinking as well as part of his story. And so I initially came down here to support my mom and be there for her for a couple of weeks. And then I decided to stay for the holidays, and then I just decided to stay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Were you always in Yellowknife? Or?
Yeah. I spent a year in 2019 in Calgary.
Okay.
For treatment. Yeah. And while I was in treatment there, my sister had actually passed away as well. She was only 39, and she basically drank herself to death.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's
when we call it a family disease.
Yeah. Like it's definitely it's ravaged my family quite a bit. So
yeah. Were both your parents from Yellowknife?
Actually, neither of them are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My father, he's from New Brunswick.
Okay.
Born in St. Stephen, grew up in Fredericton, or finished high school in Fredericton.
Yeah, know exactly where, yeah.
Yeah. And my mother, she's from Igloolik. It's basically 300 miles north of Iqaluit. So it's quite far up north there. Yeah. And they managed to meet in Yellowknife.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you came down to Ottawa.
Right. So I came down to Ottawa. I was on the I still qualified for the CRB for so long, and then those benefits ran out. So I began working in the summer. And all the while, like, I'm drinking this entire time, like basically almost every day, and at the very least a 6-pack of beer, you know, at the very least, you know, just to be safe. And so, like, that just, that was just a very difficult time, because, like, initially I came down here to be there for my mother, and it turned out like I ended up causing more stress than I was of any real benefit. And that's, that's painful. And so then this past January, we end up coming to a head, and I had to leave the house because it was just too much at that point. And so I was homeless for a little bit, and there were some heavy drugs involved. And at one point, so basically, okay, the story of how I got to Jericho Road is pretty wild.
They usually are.
Yeah. Like, it involves like the Truckers Convoy.
Okay. And
being up for like 5 days straight. And the circumstances like caused me to believe like mysterious ways, like God works in mysterious ways. I'd be a fool not to think otherwise, really, because so what had happened was I was eating lunch at the mission, and this is like 4 days and 4 nights sleep deprived, exhausted, haven't eaten in that amount of time, had gotten frostbite on my toes, a massive blister on my heel, and I am just exhausted. And suddenly I make eye contact with one of the gentlemen at the shelter, and he starts like making it plain and obvious that like it makes it sound as if they're gonna jump me as soon as I leave like the shelter, like I'm thinking to myself like, okay, what am I gonna do here? So like I finish up my lunch, and then I end up walking out and just walking down towards Rideau. And then as I get to Rideau, I hang a right towards the Truckers Convoy. And there's like people following me and whatnot. Just to make a long story short, basically it was this military game style exercise that the truckers had put on for their entertainment or whatever. And it turned out I was one of the only ones to have made it to wherever it was they were supposed to go. And meanwhile, I'm carrying like a massive suitcase with me. It's like a 50-pound suitcase. And the wheels...
With your life's belongings.
Yeah, like everything I own, and like a bag or two. And it's like... meanwhile, I'm like my heart's racing like miles per minute, because I think I'm either going to get beaten up, I'm getting kidnapped or something. No idea what's going on. And then I finally make it to one of the camps that they have at the Truckers Convoy. And they assume I'm part of the exercise or whatever, and then I explain, no, I'm just a homeless dude. I just wanted lunch. Like, I don't know how I ended up in this situation. And they're like, oh, okay, well, you can just stay at this church tonight. And it was the West Ottawa Community Church. And some of the kindest and most generous, nicest people I had met in a long time. And I did spend a lot of time at the Truckers Convoy, because... Yeah, and it was a very beneficial time. And so West Ottawa Community Church, I had explained to them I had struggles with alcohol in the past and drugs, and they mentioned Jericho Road. And so I put in the application, and it was almost like immediately getting into the house, because I believe someone from the West Ottawa church had put in. I have yet to figure out who that was. But yeah,
I know nothing.
Yeah, you know everything. I know you know. But yeah, it's a wild story. Like yeah, mysterious ways.
It seems to be a theme with the men that, I mean, even with myself, you know, I'll give you a little background on that. I was in the psych ward at the General Hospital, and an intern told me to call Jericho Road because they were going to discharge me, and I was like, if you discharge me, I'm going to go right, like, from here to the liquor store, right? So I need somewhere to go, and an intern gave me the number for Jericho Road. He said, phone these people. To this day, I have no idea who the intern was. I even tried going back and finding out who the intern was to thank him about 3 months later, and
you couldn't get to the bottom of it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I got a feeling I'll be able to figure out who put that word in for me. You know, that's just me though. So
when did you start drinking?
When I was 13.
Yeah.
So basically half my life. Yeah.
And were you was it readily available for you?
No. It was, but like I didn't take it like at the time. That's another story in itself. Like the first time I gotten drunk would be on a hockey trip in California. And and that was the first time drinking was on a hockey trip. If it wasn't for sports growing up, I'd probably be dead by now. But and no matter where I went growing up, I always felt as if I didn't belong anywhere.
Yeah.
But once I got drunk with the boys, it was like, okay, now this is all making sense now, why people drink, and okay, I belong now.
Yeah.
You know, I found my home type of thing.
Yeah. Tell me about that sense of that feeling of not belonging. Because it's common with all of us, right?
Yeah, terminally unique,
terminally
right?
unique, and you know, Clancy C., a prolific AA writer, used to say we're square pegs in a round hole.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I told you a bit about like where my parents are from. So I'm an Irish Scottish Inuk that didn't grow up in Nunavut. I haven't really learned about my Irish and Scottish roots. I grew up in the bush in the city, which is the complete opposite of Inuk lifestyle. My mother, I didn't learn the language that my mother tongue. Let's see. I was the youngest in the family, so I always felt like I didn't have a voice. I was the annoying little brother no one wanted to hang out with, spend time with. So I'd have to, you know, spend time on my own a lot of the time. Yeah. And yeah, it just all added up to like thinking I didn't matter much, and, you know, having parents, you know, having screaming matches at each other, and it would cause me to just shy away and just, you know, try and stay hidden, you know? Yeah.
I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah. So,
you mentioned that you went to Calgary to play hockey.
No, in 2019.
In 2019? No, I meant before when you were young.
No, that was California.
California, sorry.
Right,
yeah. So were sports a big part of your adolescence?
Oh, absolutely. As I mentioned before, I'd probably be dead if it wasn't for sports.
Yeah.
I got to travel a lot of Canada because of sports. Been to the States a couple times. Did a couple tours in Europe.
What position did you play?
That was right wing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Grinder, fourth line grinder.
Yeah. Fabulous.
Yeah.
Do you still play today?
It's been, I think, 6 or 7 years now since I've played. Quite a bit of fun though.
Yeah.
Like I definitely would like to go back eventually. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the presence of recovery, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Get back to who you were.
Back to who and what we got joy out of doing. Right?
Yeah, who we were before drinking and driving.
Yeah. So how long have you been sober on this journey right now?
My clean date with alcohol would be Valentine's Day, and then with drugs it'd be the 15th of February. So just a little over 2 months now. Yeah, still just a young guppy.
Well, you made it 2 months.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay. You and I were talking before the show, and there was a few things that I wanted to talk about because I think they're really important and relevant for us, and especially when we're not only in early recovery, but also in our recovery journey, and how we can think about what is important to us in recovery and what really matters. Because you and I were talking before that we try not to get too excited about the small stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was belief in a higher power. So when you came into recovery, did you have a belief in a higher power, a pre-existing belief in a higher power, or were you brought up in the church, or?
Well, I remember once, like, my father saying "we as Christians," and like at the dinner table or whatever, and it was just me and him there, and I said, "I'm not Christian," and because it's like I didn't have I didn't grow up with like in a culture, and my dad identified as Christian, but it's like I've never once seen us go to church or, pray or anything like religious whatsoever. Like I went to a Catholic school, but it's like,
okay.
Even that like immediately was not like, it was not for me. Like I, from an early age decided that no, cause my mother, she was also like a residential school survivor.
Okay.
So it was obviously had my prejudices with religion.
Of course.
And, I didn't realize the difference between Catholicism and Christianity until recently, had that, explained to me the distinguishing, factors.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I didn't really grow up with any sense of spirituality. So like late in high school, I decided to seek out different anything that wasn't Christianity or Catholicism. So I did seek out Taoism for a little bit, dabbled with that, and a little bit of Buddhism. I didn't really stick out with any of those. In terms of spirituality, coming to AA, that was the what I came to realize that I actually need some form of spirituality. Yeah.
There is a God and I'm not it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Great place to start.
Yeah. And it was explained to me too by one of the counselors that not having a pre-existing belief or some sort of spiritual structure before was actually easier to shape your new belief.
Yeah, which kind of brings me to something that I had said before, which was contempt prior to investigation. Yeah, and you said something really interesting. That's why I'm bringing this up again, because you said something that I've never heard before. Do you remember what you said?
Just straight up a prejudice.
Yeah. Contempt prior to investigation is just straight up prejudice against something that you probably don't know anything about.
Exactly. Yeah. And why do we have prejudices? Fear, right?
Yeah.
Fear of the unknown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fabulous. Freedom through sobriety. So what new freedoms do you have at 2 months and a bit sober?
I have the freedom to actually feel my feelings again.
Yeah.
And how much fun is that, right?
Yeah. Was there a little sarcasm there?
I mean, I love real roller coasters. I do not enjoy emotional roller coasters, really. But that is a freedom.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I can actually feel my feelings again.
Yeah.
As alcohol works, it completely numbs me out. And I don't. And like, I don't get to feel or think of myself.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't have to be myself for a night.
Yeah.
Worst part of, drinking was waking up again.
Yeah.
It's like, play the tape over again. The worst way.
Yeah. And that's why, you got to pat yourself on the back, because in early recovery, right, we start feeling again. And we've spent the majority of our waking hours trying not to feel. And so feeling again can be really scary. Yeah. What's the worst day you've had in early recovery so far?
Well, I had a family matter that came up and that had hit home really hard.
Yeah.
And that, like, I was I was a 9 on the anger scale. Yeah. Basically, I was in tears and upset and wanted to break something so bad in the house. But then I was able to stop myself and say, okay, like, I can't really get evicted right now. Like, like, that's not going to help my situation
it's still
any
cold
better.
Out there.
Yeah. And it's like, it was just that feeling of powerlessness. Like, I couldn't do anything about the situation. Like, and it just sucked,
Tell me about powerlessness.
Just not being able to have control over certain situations, and of course people, like, and people, places, things, right?
Yeah.
I can only control where I go and who I hang out with, and I decide what I'm going to do next.
Yeah.
But other than that, completely out of my control, and that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah. Why?
Because, people are unpredictable, and so am I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really noticed with myself in early recovery was I didn't like powerlessness because I didn't have control. Yeah. And I love control. I don't know about you, but I love control.
Big fan.
Yeah.
Big
fan? Yeah, okay.
Fan.
Okay, so we're in the same line then, eh? Yeah. Yeah, I get it. How about living one day at a time?
Oof. Yeah, that's a tough one, because, like, I get caught up in, I kind of mentioned the past couple days I've been a bit of a Sour Patch Kid.
Yeah.
Because of, like, I was thinking of
drawers.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, I was just thinking of time, like time wasted or timing, like if only this had happened then, or if I had only met this person at this time, or, and you were explaining to me that I can go insane like that. Yeah. It's like I can play like how many different situations and scenarios in my head, and the only real answer to that is to let go of the past. Yeah. It's like, what can I really do about it? But it's really difficult to let that go.
I know, right? And so
it's way easier said than
done, right? Yeah. And I still can get there.
Yeah.
I still can say, if the if onlys, if only I had done this, if only I had done that, then I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in today, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really understood and was so grateful from my sponsor is he always used to point out what the big book would say, and it says, we don't forget the past because we need to learn from it, but we don't dwell in it either. And the big book says we avoid morbid reflection, and the if onlys are morbid reflection. Because it's done. Yeah, I can't do much.
Yeah, it's resentments basically.
Yeah. And then we avoid living in the future. You find yourself living in the future?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was made aware, well, not made aware, but like, here of the fact that like at the 3 months mark, people feel as if like, oh yeah, they got this now, and they're ready to, just move on with their life and, forget the program or whatever. But it's like, I was told this and I'm like, oh no, I'll be patient when that time comes. Yeah. And now I'm thinking to myself like, okay, what am I gonna do for work after this? And like, what am I gonna, what am I gonna do after I'm done? And it's like, oh, wait a minute, I told myself to be patient,
Yeah.
And I remember having like asking my dad once, like, because he's one of the most patient guys I've ever known, like out of anybody. And I asked him once, it's like, Dad, how do I get better at patience? And he just looks at me and he's like, well, you got to wait for it. And then my response, like my alcoholic response is like, well, I want to be patient right now. It's like, oh man.
That's classic.
Right.
Classic.
Yeah.
Wow. So what's the hardest part for you living one day at a time?
It feels, the hardest part for me would be feeling as though I can't accomplish everything I want to get done in a day.
Yeah.
Like I have to string a bunch of one days at a time to actually achieve my goals.
Yeah.
And there are days where I feel like I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though being sober is good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. We discussed a little bit about how I ended up getting my letter at the house.
Yeah.
I do have issues with perfectionism. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because I have an all or nothing.
I think that's a whole nother episode on its own, right?
All or nothing attitude.
Yeah. We are people of extremes, right? Yeah. I always remember, you and I were laughing about Seinfeld before the podcast, and I'm a big fan of the old TV shows. Do you ever remember WKRP in Cincinnati?
Oh,
that was an oldie. Dr. Johnny Beaver.
That was way before my time. But one of the other clients in the house mentioned it to me, a scene about these turkeys.
Yeah. Turkeys could fly.
Yeah.
Well, there's a scene from one of the episodes, and it's a lawyer, and he's talking. Someone had passed away, and all the people are waiting for their share of the pot, right? And the lawyer looks at this guy and he says, "This is from the deceased gentleman," and he said, "You've always been an all or nothing type of guy, and since you can't have it all, you get nothing." I always remember that because
great.
That was me summed up, right? Yeah. We're all or nothing.
Yeah.
I want it all, right? And I can't have it all.
Yeah.
Okay. We just said living one day at a time. The other one that I wanted to talk about was prayer and meditation. Early recovery, tough to do, right?
I mean, like my perfectionist attitude, I was given a set list of prayers.
Yeah.
And so every morning I would read the prayers and go through them and read them. But that faltered along the way because I just didn't keep up with it. Basically, I hadn't been praying as much as I should be lately. And one of the counselors simplified it for me. Instead of having to read out the prayers and memorize all these prayers, it could be as simple as God help me. Just simplify it. It doesn't have to be this long, drawn out thing. Yeah, and meditation, I mentioned before I dabbled a bit with Buddhism and Taoism. I also had taken yoga before, and because I had back issues due to a sports injury, and just ended up loving the benefits and the feel of it. And meditation is a huge part of yoga. So I hadn't had really any issues with meditation, like being able to center myself and calm myself and quietly just be in the moment.
Yeah. I always found, especially in early recovery, because I enjoy prayer right now tremendously, but it's taken me a while to get there.
Right.
And I find I pray a lot when I'm driving, as I do a lot of having to drive my son to tennis and and so there's a lot of time where I'm alone in the car driving, and I really enjoy prayer when I'm driving. But that being said, in early recovery, I found it very difficult to clear my mind to pray.
Right.
Because there was just the squirrels were running constantly. And so I had a good friend that said, keep a pad and a pen beside your desk or beside your bed or wherever that you like to pray, and when a thought enters your mind, write it out. Mm-hmm. Because my brain was sporadic. It was all over the map, right? Mm-hmm. And would help me clear my thoughts so that I could kind of center myself and pray. And then once again, I like what you said, keep it simple. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have to be a long drawn out, Yeah.
And there's like this misconception about meditation is like the belief that it has to be like you have to have zero thoughts or zero feelings. It's like, no, it's just being present in the moment and letting those thoughts come and go and not giving any energy or weight to them. Just accept them and let them be.
Yeah. And that's why I love all the prayers in the big book, right? Like the 7-step prayer. Mm. It's so succinct and to the point, just let me be a beacon of your will as I go about my day. Just let me do your will, not my will. Mm-hmm. Simple things like that, right? Mm-hmm. We had talked before the podcast, and we were talking about the difficulty in living in the moment, and how if we don't live in the moment, it takes away from enjoying those moments. Mm-hmm. Have you gotten better at enjoying the moments?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Because there are times like I'm going to toot my own horn here and say I'm easily the funniest guy at the house right now. And, it's why those moments is why we stay sober.
I was waiting for Arnold to come out right there.
Would you like Arnold to? Yeah, because it's like, I mean, if I can't get the same ease and comfort I got from drinking and using, why am I sober? Yeah. Because it's like, and in those moments of laughing and smiling and enjoying life and being happy and, joyful in those moments, that's why we do this.
Yeah.
Those are the moments that you really remember more than anything else. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. You don't think of who left the dishes out and whatnot. No. You think about how much laughter and joy you had in those times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of surrender?
I
saved the good ones for the end, right?
Yeah. Well, I did dabble a bit with philosophy too. Just dabbled, like very superficial. But what I appreciate a lot about AA is the amount of paradoxes that are in it, and surrender is one of them.
Yeah.
Because it's surrender is a form of acceptance.
Yeah.
But in order to win the fight against alcoholism is to surrender to the fact that I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And to stop fighting. That's the only way to win. It's like, how does that make sense?
Yeah. That's one of the things I love about the 12-step program is it's just filled with paradoxical things, right? Yeah.
You got to be selfish first to be selfless in order to stay sober. It's like, what? It comes full circle.
Run that by me again.
Yeah. It's chock full of that. And it tickles my brain. Like, I love that kind of stuff, It's like brain food.
Yeah. You got to give it all away to get any.
You can only share like you can't keep what we have by giving it away. And it's like, what? Like, how does that make sense?
Yeah.
And one of the other clients had mentioned before that, like, I believe his sponsor had told him, like, a problem shared is a problem halved, a joy shared is a joy doubled. And it's just something that I've come to appreciate quite a bit too. Because there are times in my recovery and my walk since I've joined the program in like 2016 or so. Mm-hmm. And there are times where I simply won't trust counselors or social workers that aren't actually alcoholics or addicts. Mm-hmm. And who better to like actually trust than someone who's an actual alcoholic or addict, because they get it,
Well, if they want to listen, right?
Yeah.
As my sponsor always used to say, you can tell an alcoholic, you just can't tell him much. Yeah, that's me. Yeah. So did you see yourself being in a program where you had to read the Bible every day?
No. Well, I kind of knew that was a huge part of Jericho Road.
Yeah.
Like I knew that was coming. Again, the people at West Ottawa Community Church, very smart, kind, generous people, would talk to me about the Bible and Christianity and explain it to me. And it made absolute sense to me, like why the Christian approach versus the Catholicism. And it was just very, and that's one of the requirements of AA is to be open-minded. How it works is to be open-minded. The thing is, my spiritual condition, it's not contingent on us agreeing on the same thing, but when we do agree, it helps strengthen it quite a bit, you know? Because there are strength in numbers.
That's very profound.
Yeah, and, you know, like I said, I dabbled with other religions and whatnot, and I appreciate interconnectedness quite a bit. And to me, a lot of religions, they're all striving for the same goal at the end of the day, really.
Well, and so I agree, right? And what's the ultimate goal?
Yeah, enlightenment and that oneness, and
yeah. I look at the ultimate goal as being less of me and more of others.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And well, that's the funny thing too, is I wasn't looking for God, and when I came to AA, I just wanted to stop hurting. You know, I just wanted to stop hurting myself. I wanted to stop hurting others, and I wanted to stop hurting the ones I love, you know?
Yeah.
And here I am finding God again.
Yeah. Nurturing that relationship.
Yeah, because that's the best way to stop hurting.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay,
you can't hurt if you're healing, right?
That's right. Yeah. That's right. I saved a doozy for the last, because we're slowly running out of time here. I told you the hour would fly by, right? And looking back at your life, what still causes you pain?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's obviously the things I've done, especially to the ones I've loved, because that's what, you know, I can speak for myself, but in general, I think the ones we hurt the most are the ones we love the most. And also just the wasted time. Like, you can't get that time back. Again, it's something I have to learn to accept, and actually live a fulfilling life, because honestly, I didn't think I'd make it this far. You know, there were times in my life where I wanted to die, wanted to kill myself. And also,
did you ever come close to attempting that?
I had a couple of attempts. Yeah. I don't know if you can call them close, but they were attempts nonetheless. Yeah, and also just losing loved ones.
Yeah.
You know, that was a big one.
Loss is a deep hurt.
Yeah. I just wish that my brother and I were closer. You know. It just, and the last time I saw him, it was just under shitty circumstances. Yeah.
That's got to be tough.
Yeah. He was in a lot of pain, so.
The best thing about this, though, is
I get to start over again. Yeah. And those strained and damaged relationships are on the mend much faster and much faster than I had anticipated. The gifts of recovery are bountiful.
Yeah. Even at early recovery.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, I think are misinformed that those gifts of recovery don't come till later on. And I think the gifts of recovery start as soon as we make
that decision. Yeah.
Right? Thank you for talking in unison. I love it. Yeah. And we make step 3, make that decision to turn my will and my life, my thoughts and my actions over to the care of God, because I can't run the show anymore. Yeah. And neither do I want to run the show.
No. It's too stressful.
It's exhausting. Hey? Yeah. Thank you, buddy. We're going to go. I got to do a few announcements. And then we're going to see if there's any Q&As. No Q&As, John. Okay, let me do a few announcements. Our next Recovery Connection episode will be May 12th, where we'll be chatting with Lisa Fabian from the Bethel Care Center. Lisa's been trying to come on to our podcast for, I think, a month now, and between COVID with her or with us, and then her not feeling well and whatnot, it's been back and forth, and we finally have nailed down a date, May 12th. I'm really looking forward to that. I was at Bethel Church last Sunday, and I got an opportunity to actually see the Bethel Care Center, and I was just blown away by what they've done. Wow. It's amazing ministry going on there. Remember that this episode of the Recovery Connection podcast will be available on all our streaming platforms beginning next Thursday. Hopefully by next Thursday. John and I are very busy people. Cross our fingers. John just held up his fingers. Cross our fingers it's on next Thursday. Otherwise, I'll have to do it. But it won't sound nearly as nice as if John does it. So I guess if there's anything we can pray for, we pray that John gets it done for next Thursday. And if you need more information or anything like that, you want to reach out to us, just go to our website. You want to talk to us, go to our website. You want to see how you can donate to Jericho Road and help us continue a lot of the stuff that we're doing, just go to our website. And our phone number's on there, and we have a chat feature available and all that. So yeah, just go to our website. I want to close off with listening to us think about the responsibility pledge. And it says, "I am responsible
when anyone
anywhere reaches out for help.
I want the hand of AA to always be there,
and for that,
I am responsible."
What does that mean to you?
It means, like, when I see the newer newcomer coming into the rooms, welcome them with open arms and just be as supportive and helpful as I can to them, because I remember being that guy walking in the room and being extremely humbled at the time, and
it can be extremely scary as well, right?
Yeah, very intimidating.
Yeah. And we don't have our crutch.
Yeah, can't show up to meetings,
Well,
hammered.
You can, but nothing much gets accomplished.
No.
If you remember.
Yeah.
That's classic.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for being here. And I guess, do you have, I'll give you this opportunity on the spot. Do you have any wise words or thoughts to give our listening audience before we sign off?
Okay. Thank you for having me, Kevin.
It's my pleasure.
Right on. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. There you go.
Just like that.
Now,
like I'm gonna hold you on the spot, and okay. I want you to promise me something.
What's that?
When you're done your 9-month program, will you come back?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
And then
this is a blast.
Then we can have another conversation. I'll get John to play us a few clips of this conversation, and we can have a few moments of reflection.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. See the growth or the stunted growth. See, nothing changes, right?
Nothing changes, right? Yeah. I'm gonna have that on my forehead printed backwards, so every time I look in the mirror, I can read it. Right? Yeah. If nothing changes, nothing changes.
Yeah.
Thank you, my brother.
Right on.
Thank you to our listening audience. Thank you, everybody, for being with us tonight. We love you all, and we'll see you on May 12th with Lisa Fabian from the Bethel Care Center. Please join us. It'll be a great conversation. Thank you, my brother. Wave goodbye to everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Have a good night.